Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh Kelly and today we're going to listen to the magnificent Daniel Barenboim, not only a fantastic pianist but a wonderful conductor as well, somebody who has undoubtedly changed the landscape of the classical music scene in the 20th and 21st centuries. And we're going to listen to something that's probably way below his technical and musical capabilities. As the title suggests, this is Mozart's Sonata Facile, or his Easy Sonata, or his Beginner's Sonata, as it's known in his own compositional catalogue. And the reason I chose this piece is because this is taking form in my own recomposition project. So for those of you who haven't seen previous videos, this is where I take composers like Mozart and Beethoven and Bach, and instead of just changing the dynamics and the articulation and the phrasing, I'm actually going in and changing the notes and the form and the structure of the piece to kind of challenge the way we as pianists interpret classical music. I'm going to leave my overall philosophy as to where I think classical music should be going to another video, and if you are seeing this in the future, then click the link down below to see my own interpretation of this. And without further ado, let's get straight stuck into Daniel Barenboim's interpretation of the first movement of Mozart's 16th Sonata. But before I do that, let me cue the intro. Okay, so let's see what Barenboim has got for us. So you can just see from his hand placement that he's got incredible technique. Obviously, nothing there is particularly too technically difficult, especially for somebody like him, who's used to playing, incredibly difficult Beethoven sonatas and concerti and things like that. One thing that I do think is a shame, and I think this is just because this is the accepted way to play this particular piece, because obviously we've mostly played this from being really young, and it's just the lack of dynamics. Obviously in this interpretation, he's got some kind of push on the crescendo going upwards and the diminuendo coming downwards. I think instead of going like, and just going up and down like that, I think why not just go, and use it as a sequence, basically. Why not just do a diminuendo coming down as a general holistic thing? I think that's a missed opportunity, not necessarily in just this performance, but I think generally pianists as a whole don't do that. And for me, it just seems to be, especially coming back to this after many years of not playing it, like a very obvious choice. But yeah, his hand placement's very good. Obviously, when he does these staccati on bar 11, so you've got you've got a lot of lift off the key there, and the reason for that is to give it more attack. It makes it more percussive if instead of pushing from the key, which makes a softer, kind of rounder sound, you have, which is very picky, it's very kind of almost pizzicato if you like, obviously if you were to translate that onto a string instrument. But yeah, a very strong, confident opening. It's very difficult when you have that to do something different on that second time, because obviously you've got two bars that are repeated. You've got this theme, which comes back, and I think it's difficult, especially in the left hand, to kind of drop that. Maybe using a unicorda pedal or something along those lines might help facilitate dropping down even further. So if you went kind of like, again, I think it's a rather obvious choice, but I know that a lot of people don't do that. So I think it's just a missed opportunity, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, it's all very crisp. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is absolutely brilliant playing. Obviously, you wouldn't expect anything less from somebody like Barenboim. But when it goes round these chords, it's almost like the circle of fourths, isn't it? So you've got... It's just the same way that everybody plays it. It's just compressed dynamically. There's no change in the musicality at all. I think he does things where he'll go upwards like... It's very, very subtle stuff, you know, if you're listening out for it. I just think, again, on a bigger scale, you kind of meta-dynamics, if you like, why not go... Why not do something like that where you kind of drop it down and then build it back up? I think that again, is another kind of missed opportunity, not something necessarily that Barenboim does in particular. I just think that people generally do miss the opportunity to put something in like that, which is a shame. But let's see what he does on the second time, actually. I would be interested to see whether he does change anything musically in this. I imagine that the notes probably aren't going to change. Maybe at most he's probably going to change the trills or the some of the ornamentation. But let's have a look. Just on a side note as well, that piano is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if it's a Steinway. It looks like I think it's a Steinway. The piano you play on obviously changes the tone and the sound of the music that you're creating incredibly. I didn't realise actually when I started filming different things several years ago how much that actually does change. And you can play something on an upright piano that doesn't cost very much and it doesn't sound very good. But as soon as you go and play on like a $250,000 Steinway, in the university building, it just sounds incredible. It just changes everything. The piano is fantastic, and I can't really tell if he's done anything particularly different there. I think, yeah, I mean, the second time, why not change some of the notes and some of the trills and things? For instance, just like as an example off the top of my head, why not go... just change the trill at the end or something like that, or make it into a turn or a different sort of upper mordant or something. That would be my challenge, if you like, or my question to somebody, especially like him, who obviously can do that. That second time, I think he is bringing out the left hand more there. You've got this inner melody, if you like, this kind of counter melody, which if you can connect these, then you're absolutely brilliant. But when you have that and there, that's in bar 15 and 17 as well. I think when he comes off the... it's bringing those underneath voices out more, which is interesting. Yeah, I think, again, it's a more of an obvious choice. I don't think there's much you can do with this. Obviously, it being written for beginners, there's only so much interpretation you can put into it that makes it sound unique, but I'm glad that he did that the second time for sure, yeah. So you had a little bit of a difference on the attack at the end, those final two chords. You have more of a staccato, more of a tenuto maybe on those. I think before they were more legato, they were more connected. Again, you had a lot of attack on the... It's actually really hard to bring your hand up to that extent. I always think at this point as well, doesn't it sound quite similar to the Rondo alla Turk, just as a side point. Yeah, again, there was nothing particularly different about that. He played it mostly the same way, again, going around those chords. It's mostly played sort of mezzo forte-ish forte. It would have been nice to have had some come down on that. But again, fantastically played, obviously a brilliant technician, and technically I can't fault it. I'm just looking for musical things, basically, having kind of recomposed this myself, to change it in some sense, because obviously how many times are we going to hear the same piece played the same way over and over, especially going into future decades and future centuries. We're going to have a compilation of thousands of pianists, really, maybe hundreds of thousands of pianists, playing the same pieces the same way over and over and over again. And I think it's my mission in life to kind of say to people, well, why not do something different with it? I don't treat the score as being like a holy relic. I actually think Mozart and people like that would have been actually quite sad to look at the state of classical music today, and they'd probably be like, really, you're playing the same pieces the same way each time? You know, it's why not compose your own music? Why not do something with the material that I put forward? You know, we've come through hundreds and hundreds of years of musical history and musical development, and to go back and just to play it the same way each time, I don't think that from an artistic point of view is enough now. I think that people do need to change things. Let's see what he's got for us on the next section. So just before we get into this this dream-like bit, so when he's opening this up, you know, again, it's forceful, it's forte, it's con forza. I've got an Urtext edition here, so this is Henley Urtext edition. There's no dynamics really, I don't think, throughout the score at all. It's up to the musician, it's up to the pianist to kind of put that into the music themselves. That's the way I would have done it, and I agree completely with Barenboim, where he kind of does a crescendo to the middle of the phrase and then a diminuendo towards the end as well. So he's got like like that sort of idea, and then when that's faster, obviously it's so subtle. So you've got like a, you know, it's kind of like it grows towards the middle and comes away. I think that's just a typically Mozartian thing to do. So we have the same theme stated there, obviously it's in F major instead of in C. When he goes through this section, I like the fact that he's building that down. I think there could have been more done with that. I know that on my recording I made a massive point about bringing that down. I did use some unicorder to help me do that. That's definitely the most musical section that he's presented so far in this piece. And also as well, on bar 41, when you have this kind of resolution from the dominant to the tonic, so you've got... I think a lot of people play that through just... without giving that much kind of attention, if you like. For me personally, when I recorded this and what will come out within the next couple of weeks is I really do stress that, because I think it's nice to have the audience kind of anticipate and expect the resolution to the tonic. So to have a... You know, I think it's quite nice to have that, especially since most people don't do that. I think it just sets my interpretation, if you like, your interpretation, aside from, you know, the thousands of other interpretations that do just go, you know, probably not even to that extent, it's probably even more rushed than that. But I imagine probably what we're going to see, because the material is more or less just the same. I know there are certain sections where the left hand has the scalic passages and so on, but the majority of the material is now the same. It's just in F instead of in C. I'm hoping that he's not going to do the same things, but I imagine that he probably will do. It would be nice to see some growth and things as we've just discussed, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so up until this point, he's mostly played it the same way. I know that we've had a little bit of a difference in the left hand when you've had this F major scale coming upwards, but most of the time it's just the same. It's been the same dynamics played in the same way as before. There was a little bit of a drop on this section. You know, on that section when it comes in the second time, again it did drop down, and I did appreciate that, if you like, that's for lack of a better term. And I did notice as well that he did pull back a little bit towards bar 67, 68-ish when it comes back into this bit that he really likes to make it more percussive on the... you know, he pulled back there, which I really enjoyed. And then going forward, because we are towards the end of the movement, again, a lot of attack on that. I mean, he's, you know, on the... you know, he's kind of moving upwards and downwards. I really think that does give something to the music, actually. It does give it a presence. But yeah, a brilliant performance, brilliantly played, technically brilliant, obviously. And I just think that it was just another version of the same piece that we've heard before, you know. I've heard a few versions of this leading up to my recomposition project, and this is one of the better ones that I've seen. This is partly the reason for choosing this. And yeah, I'd love to know what you think as well. So comment down below if you like this particular interpretation by Barenboim. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any versions of this that you particularly enjoy and that you rate highly for me to listen to. And as always, I will see you on the next one.